Welcome, everybody. And if you wouldn't mind, and you're in a position to do so, will you just introduce yourself to each other in the chat? You know, name, rank, serial number, that kind of stuff. Maybe where you live, of years you've been a leader, and one thing that keeps you up at night as a leader. We've got some contributions in here. Lee Harper is with us. She's the HR director of CCVI. 30 plus years as a leader, keeping employees engaged when there is so much going on around them. Oh my gosh, yes. How do we stay focused on what we need them to in our organization? How do we keep ourselves focused for that matter? And then Sandy, Vice President of Lupus and Allied Diseases Association. She's been a leader for about 20 years. Welcome, Sandy. Erica P. Tack with Blind and Vision Rehab Services of Pittsburgh, CEO for 14 years. And one thing that keeps her awake at night is how to modernize services and funding methods so that they can do more than just survive. I heard that. Lauren Kenny and she's the Director of Client Experience with Guide Dogs for the Blind, and she's been in a leadership role for approximately 15 years. And one thing that keeps her up at night, program sustainability and succession planning. Those are two things equally important. Can't have one without the other, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Randy, President and CEO of Future Insight, nestled in lovely New Hampshire. Leading since kindergarten. Love your answer, Randy. That was kind of a trick question. 3 years in the current role and 1,111 years.
So I got a little double there. Let's call it 11. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay. Years in a similar role previously. Just one. He's narrowing it down for us. Staffing, finance, and board all in the shuffle, and he'll take finances for the win. Yeah, that's the holy grail for all of us, I think, in this field. Dan Norris with the Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, who is currently the Director of Adult Services, 20 years in the field, 10 in leadership, and fundraising keeps him up at night. There's probably a few others in the group who can relate to that, Dan. And Jason, our very own Jason with VisionServe, lives in Florida. He's been in a leadership role for about 20 years, worries about keeping all the agencies in our field, our community strong, and giving great services to the people who need them. Maria Meeks, Marketing Director for CSVR. What does CSVR stand for, Maria?
Community Services for Vision Rehabilitation.
Great. And that's in Mobile, Alabama?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So you are the newest addition to CSVR. We want to know more about you. And one thing that keeps her up at night is wondering, did I do my best? Could I have helped more? Wow, that's awesome. I'd want you to be my service provider. Maribel Garcia, Executive Director with Nevada Blind Children's Foundation, 15 years as a leader. And what keeps her up at night is making sure we can raise the funds to keep going. Amen. Kathleen Callan with Education and Outreach and was at the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired in Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Kathleen. While not in leadership position, not in a leadership position in the organization I work for, I am the board chair for a nonprofit, and I've done a lot of non-executive leadership roles in 20 years in nonprofits. And what keeps her up at night is thinking about how to keep my energy level up, that you now that youth isn't able to sustain me. Oh yeah, well, I can relate to that too. There's even more to do now, and I have less energy to do it with, right? Okay, lots of great sharing there. Oh, we have one more. Lynn Dubinsky, who is Client Engagement Impact VP at Guide Dogs for the Blind, and she's been in her leadership position or a leadership position for 15 years, been in the current role for under a year. Prior to this, she was a director of Braille Institute's Los Angeles Center. Well, welcome. So that's, did you move to Michigan?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize my camera was off.
Lynn,
No,
yeah.
we're in California, Guide Dogs for the Blind.
Oh, that guy. Sorry,
Yes.
you all sound alike. I'm sorry. I
That's
get you
okay.
all mixed up. And what keeps her up at night? How do we keep sustainable? And oh boy, I'm surprised nobody else said this. How do we keep or find and keep O&M specialists? Absolutely. That's has is now part of the Holy Grail, I think, finding ACVREP certified staff and keeping them. Okay, well, I am just so pleased that you all have chosen to spend this next hour with us. Um, I am Lee Nasehi. I'm the president and CEO of VisionServe Alliance. And one of the things that we offer are consulting services. So this is just an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what we have available. And then I, in turn, want to learn from you what else you feel like is needed for your organization. What else could VisionServe think about offering to our member organizations? So let's move on. I was going to do a little exercise here, asking who's in the audience, but we've heard that, so I'm going to skip that. So this next slide was just who's participating in the group. So let's move on. Um, at least one, maybe two of you are not members of VisionServe Alliance yet. I'll put that caveat. So I just want to make sure you have a little information about VisionServe Alliance and why, frankly, we offer the consulting services that we do. So as a national association of organizations all dedicated to serving people with blindness and low vision, with a double bottom line of providing resources to strengthen our member organizations and then together with our members tackling the most important national issues in a way that will positively impact our mutual constituents, people who are blind and have low vision. In that role, we offer a small but pretty powerful, I hope effective menu of consulting services, all of which address some aspect of leadership because we are we are committed to collaborating in the principles of networking leadership. And we don't do anything on our own. Those of you who are members can attest to every effort VisionServe is involved in. We are able to accomplish what we do because all our members are involved. We have lots of volunteers. We sort of implement our actions through our membership, through the principles of networking leadership. And so it's important to us that all of our members feel strong and healthy and have the greatest number of leaders working for them as possible. It's in our best interest. It's in our mutual constituents' best interest that we are all leaders. And by the way, I do believe that. I believe every person is not just capable of being a leader, but exhibits leadership at various points of the day, even if you don't have that title behind your name. So let's start with just a quickie little discussion about leadership itself. What is it? And I'd just like you to feel free to jump in, unmute yourself. First of all, how do you define leadership? Let's throw out some ideas.
Who somebody is, not necessarily their title.
Ooh, I like that. Can you say a little bit more about that? That maybe leads into the next one. What does effective leadership look like to you? So say a little bit more about who you are, not what you do. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's that leadership is how you show up,
Mm-hmm.
how you get others to follow you, how you influence, how you follow others as well. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be a good follower as well to be a leader. And it's not about your title and using your title to get things done. It's about how you go about doing those things to get people to do what they want to do or what you need them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That was beautiful. And your first name is Lee?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. That was lovely. Any other thoughts about how you define leadership or what does effective leadership look like to you?
This is Erica. When I think about it, I always think about just like being able to help people move forward, like being able to guide people in the direction that you see for the organization or in whatever direction you need to head, like being able to get people on board and just help guide them and give them direction, how to get where you need them to be.
Beautiful. So, everybody here's a leader, right?
At times and to follow at others.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you're leading and you turn around, there's no one behind you, you need to be considered a leader. So this is a rhetorical question. I'll just ask you to contemplate it as we move through the webinar. Where are you in your leadership journey? You know, this is a never-ending thing, right? We're always on that path somewhere. So just be thinking about where you are currently and also what you need to sustain healthy leadership yourself as an individual leader. What do you need? We all need different things. So be thinking about that. If there's some of those needs that we can fill here at VisionServe, we'd like to know. And then the last thing I'd like to ask you are you concerned about scaling your organizational leadership? And are you investing in it? You know, I think as someone who's been in the nonprofit community, the independent sector, most of my life, a few times I worked for in the private sector, but mostly was in the nonprofit sector. And we're constantly talking about growth and scaling. But as I think over the decades, I think we spend a lot more time talking about scaling our finances, our facilities, our IT systems. I don't hear as much talked about scaling our organizational leadership. What do you guys think about that? Yeah,
Lee, I
if
have a
you're
thought about your question.
great, Dan, please.
I think that's a really important part because there's a lot of transition happening right now between leadership in our different organizations. And as we look to the future and the need is going to continue to grow exponentially for our clientele, you know, the same is going to need to be true for the organizations that are serving those individuals. So we need to raise up the next
Absolutely.
generation of individuals who can step both into, you know, upper executive management as well as the middle management as well. And so cultivating our younger generation of professionals right now would be really important.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Lots of movement within our staffs throughout the community. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about, here's a list of our current consulting services that we offer through VisionServe Alliance. We have a number of offerings related to the Leadership Challenge by Kouzes and Posner. I'm going to take a deep dive into all of these. Colby Index A, of course, Colby offers more than the Index A. They offer a number of surveys. I'll talk about what those are. System and Soul is an operating system that we teach and implement, and that's probably where I spend the largest amount of my time with our organizational members who are involved in that. We have an executive coaching cohort series with the Rammerman Leadership Group. Will soon be accepting applications for the third cohort. We've had 2 so far. And then we do custom facilitation, strategic planning, governance, and coaching as well. So I'm going to keep it moving because we got a lot of ground to cover here. So the Leadership Challenge is where I want to start. I like to start with it because I think it's relevant, first of all, to every human being, regardless of position, what industry, phase of life they're in. It's just really a robust set of learning, of principles, of explorations. It's something I was introduced to decades ago, and I still use it personally and professionally. Every time I facilitate something about it, I learn more. It's fresh and valuable. So if you're not familiar with it, I think many of you are. The Leadership Challenge is a leadership development program based on the best-selling book, The Leadership Challenge, by Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. It is an evidence-based model that has stood the test of time. It will help you and your people grow, inspire, and develop into effective leaders, regardless of their title. From frontline workers to C-suite executives, the leadership development training can help you unlock the power of leadership so your people can achieve the extraordinary. I think it's important that it's evidence-based. It's not the only evidence-based leadership model out there, but they have surveyed some, I think there's 5 million responses in their database, people who've taken the leadership practices inventory. And that's important. It has helped shape their model over the years, but it's incredibly reliable and valid. It's a very powerful and simple framework. As I believe that leadership is not about personality, it's about behavior, an observable set of skills and abilities. To the extent that you exhibit those behaviors, you practice those behaviors, that will help shape the effectiveness of your own leadership. So Kouzes and Posner set out to discover what effective leaders do when they're at their personal best. The 5 million respondents what are those behaviors that the best leaders in the world exhibit? And they honed them down to a set of 5 practices that they're very easy to understand and we can all exhibit them. So there's first, model the way. And that's what you were talking about, Lee, right? Show up the way you want people to see. What are the values that you want to exhibit? If you're a leader, by the way, whether you want to or not, you are modeling some way. Everybody is looking at you all the time. So, got to be thinking about what it is that you're modeling. And the second practice is inspire a shared vision. I mean, that as leaders is what we're about all day too, right? We're expounding, we're sharing, we're promoting where we want to go and what we want to accomplish. Hopefully you're doing it in an inspirational way. The third practice is challenging the process. Well, who here doesn't have to challenge the process on a daily basis too? And so there are some good ways to do that and some effective ways to do that. And the fourth practice area is enabling others to act. So again, we talked about that too. If you're a leader, somebody needs to be following you. How do you get others to act in the most effective way? Half the time we're trying to get people to act, and it's actually the way we're doing that instead of empowering people to move, we're inhibiting them. So good to know more about those behaviors. And the fifth practice, encourage the heart. And I always tell people when I first started getting involved with the leadership challenge, this was the practice in which I was weakest. I come from a family of overachievers, and we didn't acknowledge each other in a very healthy way. Now that I look back on it, we got acknowledged if we didn't do what was right, you know, but that's not what we're supposed to do, or we won't use that word suppose. That's not the most effective behaviors as leaders. So learning how to really meaningfully encourage the heart is just as important as the other 4 practices. So the Leadership Challenge is powered by the LPI, the Leadership Practices Inventory, a rigorously validated instrument backed by 40 years of research. And more than 1.65 million leaders in the world have taken the LPI. The LPI measures the frequency individuals engage in 30 proven leadership behaviors and empowers them to make their discoveries, making a pathway to leadership for all. So each of the 5 practices has 6 behaviors specific to it. And this LPI is an online assessment, and you can take it 2 ways. You can go online and take it just yourself. You will be reporting on the frequency of exhibiting those 30 behaviors. That's all. There's no good or bad answers, just how frequently do you exhibit those behaviors? And if you just take it without other observers, you get a lovely about 20-page report called Self-Empowered that gives you a lot of good information based off of just taking that survey to help you get started or continue your leadership journey. I encourage you to read the book too if you haven't. But in combination with a debrief by a certified practitioner like myself, it's a really great place to start. You can also take that same LPI and invite 8 to 12 observers to take it on your behalf too, noting the frequency of you exhibiting those behaviors. The same thing you're answering, they answer. They'll answer it anonymously. Of course, you'll know who you asked to do that survey for you, but the report comes back aggregated and does not specifically say who said what. How many of you have participated in a 360 where you've had others? Lee, I'm seeing several of you have raised hands, shaking heads, yes. Did you find it valuable? Yeah. Yeah, I personally think you can't call yourself at least a certified leader until you've done that at least once. And I would encourage you to do it every so often, every 3 to 5 years. That's not the only way, of course, to get feedback. I hope you're asking people around you on a fairly regular basis, how am I doing? What do you think? What can I learn? But taking a 360 and giving yourself time to reflect on those responses is really important. So leadership challenge is, I think the most effective way to go through this is by taking at least one of those, and I would encourage you to do the 360. And both of them include personal debriefing. And then there is also workshops that I can provide or others can provide around this. And it depends on the size of your group and what you want to accomplish. I've done a group with individuals where they only did the self-empowered, they didn't have observers. And we just sort of debriefed and processed what that meant in a 4-hour online workshop. And I've also done numerous in-person workshops. And again, depending on the size of the group and the needs of the group, it could be done in 2 days. I would say that's the minimum. 2 to 3 days, 2.5 days is generally what people participate in. They're highly interactive, and because I have run these workshops for people who are blind and visually impaired as well, as typically cited, I have a lot of tricks and exercises that work for participants who can't read the print and what's up on the screen and stuff. And I think that's been very important and it's been quite valuable. So leadership is a journey. I just want to ask you to think about these things and think about it perhaps for your leadership team or your colleagues in your organization in contemplating, could we benefit from this or not? So I'll read 7 statements and just think to yourself, is this yes or no? So number 1 is, I have reflected on my personal and professional values and know which are most important to me. Second, I am clear about my philosophy of leadership. My philosophy of leadership. And my leadership actions align with and reflect this, reflect my philosophy of leadership. Are you acting in alignment with what you believe? I have a credo that reflects my values and goals in life. I encourage you to actually write that out. Take some time to think about that. I have participated in a 360 review of my leadership behaviors, and recently, I would say. Number 5, I'm comfortable asking supervisors, peers, and direct reports for feedback and do it regularly. Number 6, I have participated in at least one leadership development program in my life. And number 7, I read books on leadership. So if you participate in the leadership program that we provide, you will do all of these things. The program encompasses all of that. And it's very interactive with peers, lots of learning. There's different ways we can do it. So if you're interested in this, I would encourage you to reach out to me and we'll talk about what you're hoping to accomplish, who you'd want to involve, and the kinds of time and resources you have, and I can put together a proposal that meets your specific needs. So that's the leadership challenge. Do you have any specific questions about that? By the way, after the webinar, we're going to send you the recording, the slides, and very specific information about all of these with pricing and all of that too. So that will come after we finish. But if there's anything that you can think of that you want me to address now, just let me know. There'll be time at the end for general questions as well. All right, so let's move on to the Kolbe A index. How many of you have heard of Kolbe or taken it? I mean, we did it at one of our conferences, so I think a lot of you have been exposed to it. So I love Kolbe because it's different than there, there's a million assessments out there. There's DISC, there's Strength Finders, of course, Myers-Briggs. I don't know how many do that anymore, but there's a dozen more I could name off, but I don't think there's any others. I don't think there's any indexes or surveys that measure what Kolbe does, and that is your cognitive strengths, which means how you instinctively approach the way you take action or the way you approach work. So it's not your personality, it's not your intellect, your intelligence. It's how you instinctively approach working. And I just found that so important to understand me and the rest of my team. Everybody does it differently, like we just talked about with the leadership challenge. There's no good or bad. This is who we are. And let's take a little time to understand that, acknowledge it, and frankly, celebrate it. You take a survey online again, and you get a very interesting report that gives you a lot of insight into your cognitive strengths. And it's interesting enough just to do for yourself, but the real learning or knowledge power comes in you doing that with your leadership team and understanding perhaps the gaps in your team. The report results in your mode of operation. It gives you 4 numbers along 4 different modes of working. And so I am a 3592. I believe in simplifying when it comes to fact finding. That's the first mode. I am a 5, which is kind of middle of the road in terms of following through. I'm a 9 on a scale of 10 for innovation, which is called a quick start. And I'm a 2 on the implementer scale, and implementer means using your hands. It's like engineers. I want to envision that. I am not an engineer. I do not use my hands. So this helped me understand that I like to simplify and get to the meat of the matter and make decisions. I'm willing to take risks. I also miss things because I'm so focused on moving forward. And in order for us to be successful and effective at VisionServe Alliance, I had to hire Jason and Helen and Wendy because they're all different for me. They are more involved and paying more attention to the details and organization. And we complete each other. We are a very good team together. So I encourage you to think about this if you haven't done it. It's not very expensive. It's about $55, $60 an assessment. And there are other tools you can do beyond just taking the assessment. I can provide a team workshop for you to really understand each other. But if you get into it, there are other indexes. There are many companies who use Kolbe as a way of matching candidates with the jobs that they have available. There are other indexes that do that. It's always a gamble bringing people in, but it could be nice to know that they have the cognitive strengths that really will help them excel at the particular positions that you're trying to fill. Okay, and then the biggie, system and soul. So this is another aspect of leadership which focuses on leading and managing your organization. Building on healthy leadership behaviors, every organization needs an operating system. So I think when I first heard that decades ago, I didn't know what it meant. And notably, our organization did not have an operating system. So I didn't know what I didn't know. I could relate to an operating system on a computer, and that acts as the primary center for all the software and hardware systems. The operating system allocates resources and prioritizes the tasks on your machine. It also provides a common language, it manages security, and provides an interface for users. So using that as a metaphor, an organizational operating system does the same thing on a much broader level, shaping and systematizing overall organizational effort. So System and Soul is just one of those operating systems. It's the one that I am a certified coach for. It's a smart and stable system that provides flexible operations, a framework to support growing organizations and you, the executives who lead them. It is the operating system that we run VisionServe Alliance on. It is one of the newer ones. Some of the others you may have heard out there are EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, Rockefeller Habits, um, scaling, the word scaling is in one of them. System and Soul was developed by several master implementers for EOS who liked the principles of EOS but wanted to take it a little bit further. I'd say the system part of System and Soul is pretty similar to EOS, but they added the soul part, which is equally, if not more important for organizations. So I'm going to walk you through that quickly. So up on the screen, I have a diagram of the System and Soul model, which has 6 components. The left side of the model is dedicated to the components of the system, and the right side to the components of the soul. So first of all, design. We get clear on how we move, your organizational structure, your bets, which I probably should change the name on this because everybody wonders what that is, but that's our lingo for goals. What is it that we want to accomplish and process? So in the element of design, we're looking at your organizational structure, the goals that you want to pursue, and the processes that you use on a daily basis. These are all really big things. I can say that when I was a new chief executive, I sort of looked at the structure of my organization as a fait accompli. Like, I didn't have any control over it. I inherited this. This is what it is. I need to just work within that. But of course, I realized that wasn't true. And in fact, as the chief executive, I think making sure that the structure of your organization reflects what it is you want to accomplish is possibly the most important thing you can do. So understanding structure, setting the proper goals, and then making sure you have processes are so important. The second element of the system side is getting your organization to move at the same pace. Understanding how to set quarterly objectives, 90-day objectives that move the organization forward towards the annual goals you want to accomplish. That was such an important tool for me. Healthy fit. FIT is an acronym for fuel, impact, and timeliness. And this really refers to making sure that you've got the right people in the right seats, that they are the ones that need to be there. They're a match, because that will interrupt your pace if they're not. Weekly sync refers to a regular meeting that your leadership team and all the teams in your organization participate in with an effective agenda that assures you're focused on the most important things, the things that matter most in those meetings, that they're not just a bitch session, that you're not wandering in circles. We waste so much time in nonprofits because we don't have effective meeting formats. So learning how to do that is really important. Those all make up cadence. And then the third element is score, measuring our progress, because what gets measured gets done. So developing a scoreboard that includes metrics for the whole organization. What are those metrics that matter most to your organization's success? Big things. And then what does each of the teams have to do to assure there is progress towards those? And then finally, what do I need to be doing as an individual? So that's score, design, cadence, score, the system side of the model. And then the soul model looks at, first of all, destination. Make sure your organization is all rowing in the same direction. Where are you going? Why? And when do you want to get there? They are simple questions, but I think if you walk through most organizations, maybe not yours, but walk through most organizations and just grabbed a guy off his desk and asked him these questions, he might be able to answer you, but it's probably not the same answer that the person across the hall will give you. So getting everyone on this, going in the same direction, destination. The uh, third or fifth element is knowing who we are, who you are as an organization, your unique identity, your specific values, what your organization is very passionate about. And then your hedgehog. Hedgehog is a concept from Jim Collins' Good to Great. It is the intersection of what you can be best at, what will pay your bills, and what you're most passionate about. The sweet spot that will compel your organization forward. And then finally, people, possibly the most important aspect of all of this, right? People growing and healthy, understanding that you have the ability to shape your organization's culture and how to do that. How to actually solve problems, not just talk about them and go in circles, but solve problems, put them to bed. And then how do you nourish, scale leadership within your organization? These are the 6 elements of system and soul that I, as your coach, would help you understand and maximize and flourish within. One of the tools that we teach you is an S2 roadmap. This is a simple 2-page kind of strategic plan that identifies who you are, your hedgehog, like I talked about, and your big goals and when you're getting there. Another tool is a scoreboard. And by the way, System and Soul comes with a web-based app that is a software program that contains all the information that you need. So it's not paper-based. It is semi-accessible and getting more so because AFB is one of my clients and they're now working with System and Soul to make it completely accessible to screen readers. So very happy about that. But this is customizable and helps you keep your scores in order. Learning how to use that org chart as a tool for strategic growth. Wow, that was another thing I didn't think about. It matters a lot how you organize your org chart and organize it for the future. So that's another tool you learn. Learning how to establish and manage quarterly objectives, so important. It's really just too much for humans to think that you can have an annual plan that has 25 to 50 goals without chunking them down and say, go do it. It just results in chaos. So learning how to do this, focusing on less and getting more done. So important. And then the weekly sync is what System and Soul calls its typical staff meeting, team meeting. There are ways to customize this, but the important thing is that you have an agenda that you stick to and that you give the lion's share of that agenda to really focusing on the most important generative discussions your organization needs to have that week or every other week. That it's the same time, same place, and you as a team prioritize that meeting over others. So important. Effective meetings, can't say enough about it. System and Soul is a 2-year implementation journey generally. Once the commitment is made, there's a little organizational assessment, and then we jump into the first month, days 1, 30, and 31 are in person with the full leadership team. We would talk together about who that would include for your organization. And you would have these 3 full 8-hour day sessions within the first month. And you come out of that with your roadmap and your scoreboard and your first set of baby 90-day objectives. We'll actually only look at them for a couple months. And then we will regroup again every quarter for the year. At the end of the year, there's a 1.5-day session. The quarterly sessions are also full days, just one, and they can be virtual or in person, depends on what you'd like to do. And then we go through the second year, quarterly sessions and an annual session. Generally, most organizations dedicate the first year to the leadership team, learning the model, mastering it, and then we roll it out to as far down in your organization, hopefully the whole organization, in year 2. So the launch tools that you will learn, the org chart, the S2 roadmap, the weekly sync, the scoreboard, and hedgehog concept, onlyness statement, healthy fuel impact, timeliness, and engineering culture. These are all things you will learn in these 2 years and much more. So I'm a certified coach in it. There are many coaches around the country, by the way, and I love my team. You can look online. System and Soul has its own website. You can see more about it there, as you can with the Leadership Challenge in Colby. Um, that's the full implementation model that I have outlined for you, but I can customize different ways of implementing, especially if your organization maybe used another operating system and you just like to modernize with this one. It might not take you 2 years. It kind of depends on who your team is. And it also depends on the resources you have. I want to make it work for you. So if you think about what I just proposed and you think there's no way that's overwhelming, don't drop it there. Talk to me. I'd like you to think about it. So the next set of things I have up on the screen are, does my organization have or need an operating system? There's a whole assessment I would go through with you, but here's a few of the questions that I'd lay on your heart to think about. We have clear set goals for the organization for the next 1 to 3 years. Our company has defined roles and responsibilities for each person in the organization. We have known, documented, and followed by all processes for the major functions of our business. We have all the right people in the right seats. We know our objectives for the quarter, and we have the resources to attain them, meaning the time, money, direction, clear outcomes, and ownership for those. Jason, are you smiling? We aspire to this. We don't always do it at VisionServe either. Time seems to be the shortest resource, doesn't it?
We try our best. We try our best.
My team meets every week at the same time with complete attendance and has an agenda with very clear outcomes. And in our weekly meetings, we discuss the most important obstacles and opportunities and always follow through with clear actions. We have a scoreboard we update weekly or monthly and discuss when our numbers are not hitting their targets. Our leadership team knows and is tracking metrics that show us what drives our economic engines. Everyone in the organization can state the long-term vision. It's very clear to our entire team how our longer-term goals are tied to what we are doing today. Everyone in our organization knows the why behind what we do. Do all your people know that? God, I think that's important. Our company has stated values, and we use them as a filter for all decision-making in the business. And lastly, our company is excellent at giving team members the autonomy they need to achieve the results they are tasked with in their role. So that's just some food for thought in contemplating whether or not you need or would consider implementing an operating system. Okay, we're coming up on time. I'm gonna wrap it up pretty soon. There's one other thing I want to introduce to you, the executive coaching. But any questions about this? I think one of the biggest benefits of having an operating system is that, yeah, it's just such an important investment into your organization. It is a big undertaking. I mean, I'm not going to, sugarcoat that. It's a really big deal to go through this. But if you commit to it, it it makes the leadership succession and transition throughout the organization so much easier, but especially your leadership team and your chief executive. Your organization is not going to be personality driven. It is really going to change the transparency, the communication levels, and the commitment of everyone in the organization. And I have seen it again and again. Control replaces chaos. It doesn't happen overnight. It's hard the first year. Lots of members of the leadership team are not going to like it and they're going to bitch about it. But usually by the end of the first year, things really start to click and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to work. So really love for you to think about it. The last specific consulting service that we offer at the moment is our executive leadership coaching. And we offer a cohort model. It's a series, happens over 7-8 months. And we do this in partnership with the Rammerman Leadership Group in Rochester, New York. We've gone through 2 series, and we will be accepting applications for the third cohort. God, I can't talk anymore. Third cohort, which will begin early in 2025. It's ideal for C-suite executives and directors of all size organizations and CEOs, chief executives of small organizations. I think we have a couple of alumni in the audience. So if you'd like to, say anything about it, I think what makes this program so different from traditional coaching, and there's 2 types. You can have individual coaching, you get individual coaching even in this series, but a lot of CEOs, chief executives have executive coaches on an ongoing basis even. And then there are cohort models like, peerage groups that you can join. They're pretty expensive usually. This one is different. It's not inexpensive, but it's not exorbitant. It's different in that your cohort is going to include others from this field, which I think is valuable. It's good for you to be a part of other groups too, but we really like so far what's happening. Dan, Jason, you like to say anything? Is there anybody else who's done it?
I'll speak for just a moment and say, and then Dan, I'm sure you want to say something. It was just a very valuable experience for me. We worked through really significant exercises that reflect some of the principles that Lee, you just talked about, as you know. And what was really valuable was that we did it together as a group of 8 people who are in organizations that serve the BVI community. And as a result, the constant sharing, getting to know each other, and now sharing resources just gives you a sort of an instant cohort of people that are on leadership teams in other organizations. It's been incredibly valuable. We all email each other about various different things and various projects all the time, and we sort of have the same way of thinking, and we know each other pretty deeply, which helps us determine the other person's interests and the ways that we can reach out and continue to build a relationship. So I thought it was terrific. But I'll turn to Dan for his thoughts.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Echo what Jason said. In addition to what he said, I found the group sessions were very beneficial. They were very applicable to what we were doing. And then the individual coaching session that we received from our coaches outside of those groups allowed us to set individualized goals and targets for us to strive towards. I personally found the individual coaching that paired with my executive director, my supervisor, joined for 2 of the meetings, and that helped me directly in my own job. So I think that between the group experience, the individual experience, and the experience with your supervisor and the coach, I found it incredibly beneficial, and I'm glad I did it. And like Jason said, I'm still in contact with people from the group, and we're continuing to work on goals together outside. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, both of you. So those are sort of the standard things that we have. We also can customize training and facilitation. I mean, not just me, Jason can do things too. And we have vetted members who are consultants who offer other things, particularly in the area of board governance. I can recommend some really great people to help you with that. And strategic planning. And so I would ask you, sort of in closing, we're almost out of time, so I want to open it up for questions. Maybe you just email me, what are some of the other things that you're looking for some consultants or specialists to help you and your organization with? And then I'll just open it up to questions or comments. But probably what's more valuable, you'll find some more specific bits of information about all of the services that I've talked to you about, including pricing. I just want you to know that I want you, if you want these services in your organization and you look at the pricing and you think I can't afford that, please don't just write it off. Talk to me about it. Let's figure out how we can do this for you. If you really believe it's important for your organization, I think we can find a way. We believe in all of you. We respect, admire, and count on all of you to do great things in the field. And as a parent of an adult man living with blindness and other disabilities, I just thank you genuinely from my heart for choosing to work in this field. There's a lot of things you could be doing. I thank you for working in this field. I can't tell you how many people entered our lives and helped us as we were raising Joe and still today. So thank you very much.